Let me tell you something about knowing your worth. It's not just a nice idea or a catchy phrase. It's a life-altering truth that can transform how you see yourself and how others treat you. See, the problem isn't that we don't have value. The problem is that many of us don't know we have value. And when you don't know your worth, you let people treat you any kind of way, walk all over you, and take what you give without so much as a thank you. But let me remind you tonight, you are worth more than that. The Bible says in Psalm 139-14, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Fearfully, wonderfully. Do you hear the power in those words? God didn't just slap you together and say, oh, this will do. No, he took his time. He crafted you with care. He designed every detail of you with intention. He breathed life into you, and he called you his masterpiece. That's not just poetic talk. That's the truth of your identity. And if the creator of the universe took his time to make you, who are we to let anyone treat us like an afterthought? But here's where we mess up. We let the world, circumstances, and even other people tell us who we are. We let their opinions, their neglect, their rejection dictate our value. We tie our worth to how much they praise us, how much they notice us, or how much they include us. And when they don't, we start to believe we're not enough. But let me tell you right now, people's inability to see your worth doesn't diminish your worth. It only reveals their blindness. You don't need to convince anyone of your value. You don't need to prove it. Your worth doesn't depend on their validation. It depends on the God who made you, and his word never changes. You see, too many of us stay in places where we're not appreciated because deep down, we're afraid to leave. We're afraid of what will happen if we walk away. Will anyone else see us? Will anyone else care? So we stay in relationships where we're undervalued. We stay in jobs where we're overlooked. We stay in circles where we're tolerated instead of celebrated. And we think that if we just keep giving, if we just keep proving ourselves, maybe, just maybe, they'll start to see our worth. But let me tell you something. You don't have to work to prove your worth to people who are incapable of seeing it. If someone cannot recognize the treasure that you are, their blindness is not your burden to bear. You don't have to shrink yourself to fit into places you've outgrown. You don't have to dim your light to make others feel comfortable. You don't have to lower your standards just to be accepted. No, my brother, my sister, stand tall, stand firm, know who you are. And when you do, you'll stop chasing after people who aren't meant to walk with you. You'll stop begging for love, attention, and respect from people who were never capable of giving it in the first place. Instead, you'll attract people who see you, who value you, who honor the gift of your presence. But you can't attract what you deserve while you're busy settling for less. You see, knowing your worth means understanding that you are enough as you are. You don't have to perform, you don't have to pretend, and you don't have to compete. The right people will recognize your value without you having to put on a show. And the wrong people, let them go. I said, let them go. Because when you hold on to the wrong things, you block the blessings God has waiting for you. Sometimes walking away is not a loss, it's a gain. It's making room for something better, something greater. And let me say this, knowing your worth doesn't mean you're prideful or arrogant. It doesn't mean you're better than anyone else. It means you honor the God who made you. It means you recognize that you are his creation and you refuse to let anyone treat you like less. Walking in your worth isn't just about how others see you. It's about how you see yourself. It's about carrying yourself with dignity, respecting yourself enough to set boundaries, and believing that you deserve more than scraps. You deserve the best, not because you're perfect, but because God says you do. So today, I challenge you to stop settling, stop shrinking, stop apologizing for being who you are. Lift your head, straighten your back, and walk in the confidence of knowing that you are valuable. And if they don't see it, if they don't appreciate it, let them go. Your worth isn't tied to their approval. It's tied to the God who made you, and he doesn't make mistakes. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Never forget that. Never let anyone take that away from you. Know your worth and walk in it boldly. There is a power in silence that words will never have. Sometimes the most profound statement you can make is not with your voice, but with your absence. See, silence doesn't just leave a void, it leaves a message. It tells people, I have given you my time, my attention, my care, and now I am choosing to reclaim them. There is strength in stepping back and withdrawing your presence because it forces people to confront the reality of what they've taken for granted. When we speak, we often try to explain, defend, or justify ourselves. But not everyone is listening, and not everyone deserves an explanation. Sometimes words are wasted on people who have already made up their minds. You could pour out your heart trying to make them understand, but they won't hear you because they don't value you. That's when silence becomes your greatest tool. It's not about being petty or passive aggressive. It's about choosing to stop fighting for space in someone's life when they've shown you they don't appreciate it. Silence speaks because it creates a shift. People notice when you stop engaging. They notice when your energy is no longer there. Your silence disrupts their comfort because they've gotten used to you showing up, giving, and being there, regardless of how they treated you. But when you pull back, it's as if you've held up a mirror to their behavior. Your absence becomes a reflection of what they've done or failed to do. It says, this is what life looks like without me in it. We see this principle even in scripture. Jesus told his disciples in Matthew 10:14, if anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, leave that home or town and shake the dust off your feet. Now, Jesus wasn't saying this out of bitterness. He was teaching them to value their time, their mission, and their worth. He was teaching them that not everyone will receive you, and that's okay. Your job is not to force yourself into spaces where you're not welcomed. Your silence, your departure can do more to make them realize what they've missed than anything you could ever say. But let me be clear, silence is not weakness. In fact, it takes incredible strength to remain silent when you feel disrespected, undervalued, or unappreciated. The natural response is to defend yourself, to argue, to demand recognition. But true strength lies in walking away with your dignity intact, knowing that your worth does not depend on their acknowledgement. Silence is not surrender. Silence is strategy. It says, I know who I am, and I don't need to waste my breath proving it to you. Some of you are giving too much of your energy to people who only drain it. You're fighting battles that aren't yours to fight, trying to win over hearts that were never meant for you. You keep talking, explaining, pleading, but nothing changes. And the more you give, the more they take. But let me tell you something. The moment you stop talking, the moment you pull back, you regain your power. Silence is a boundary. It's a way of saying, I will no longer allow you to take from me without giving anything in return. Silence is also a space for healing. When you stop pouring out to people who don't appreciate you, you can start pouring back into yourself. You can reflect, recharge, and refocus on what truly matters. You see, silence isn't just for them, it's for you. It's a way of saying, I choose peace over chaos. I choose clarity over confusion. I choose myself over a situation that no longer serves me. And in that silence, God can speak to you in ways you couldn't hear before. He can remind you of your purpose, your worth, and his plans for your life. Now, don't be surprised if your silence causes a reaction. People who are used to your constant presence will notice when you're no longer there. Some will be angry, some will be confused, and some will try to pull you back in. But remember this, not everyone deserves a response. Silence is not an invitation for them to negotiate. It's a statement that you've already made your decision. Let your absence do the talking. If they truly value you, they will make the effort to change. And if they don't, your silence will confirm that walking away was the right choice. Silence is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new chapter. It's the moment you stop letting others dictate your value and start living in alignment with what you deserve. So if you find yourself in a situation where your voice isn't being heard, where your presence isn't being appreciated, don't waste another word. Step back, reclaim your energy, and let your silence speak for you. Protecting your energy is one of the most important practices you can adopt in a world that constantly demands more from you. It's not selfish to prioritize your well-being. It's necessary for your survival, your peace, and your growth. So often we get caught up in trying to please everyone, trying to be everything to everyone, but in doing so, we forget that we are human. We forget that we need rest, boundaries, and space to breathe. We need to protect our energy like the precious gift it is. If you're not intentional about guarding your energy, others will drain it without hesitation, and you'll find yourself depleted, overwhelmed, and unable to give to the things that truly matter. Energy is not just a physical resource, it's mental, emotional, and spiritual too. Every interaction, every encounter, every task takes something from you. And over time, if you're not careful, you'll give so much that you have nothing left for yourself. Your mind becomes cluttered with worries that aren't even yours. Your emotions become entangled with others' problems, and your spirit feels weary from the constant demand of others' needs. This is why it's so vital to set boundaries, to say no when you need to, and to protect the very essence of who you are. The first step in protecting your energy is recognizing when it's being drained. Not everyone who asks something from you is doing so with good intentions, and not every situation you're in is worth your time or attention. Some people will take from you without ever giving back. They'll dump their emotional baggage on you, expecting you to carry it without a second thought. Some will use your kindness to manipulate you, and others will simply take and take, never considering how much you've given. The reality is, not everyone has the ability to respect your energy, so you must learn to assess who and what deserves a place in your life. We often feel obligated to give and be there for others, especially when they seem like they need help or support. But here's the truth. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you give away all your energy without replenishing it, eventually you'll find yourself running on fumes. And when you're depleted, you're no good to anyone, including yourself. This is why self-care is not an option, it's a necessity. You cannot continue to be there for others if you're not taking the time to care for your own mental, emotional, and physical needs. Protecting your energy means recognizing that your well-being is just as important as the people you help. You can't save others if you're drowning yourself. Setting boundaries is one of the most powerful ways to protect your energy. It's easy to say yes to everyone because we don't want to disappoint anyone or we fear rejection. But in doing so, we often say no to our own needs, our own peace, and our own growth. Setting boundaries doesn't make you a bad person, it makes you a wise one. It means that you are prioritizing your own health and well-being. And that's something you must do if you want to remain strong and effective in the long run. Boundaries help you preserve your time and energy for the things that truly matter, like your dreams, your relationships, and your personal growth. They allow you to say no when necessary, without guilt, and give yourself permission to rest. Protecting your energy also means choosing your environment wisely. You have to be mindful of the people you surround yourself with, the places you spend your time, and the activities you engage in. Not all environments are conducive to peace and growth. Some people thrive on negativity, drama, and chaos. And if you allow yourself to be immersed in that, it will eventually wear you down. When you expose yourself to toxic environments, you expose your energy to toxins that will drain you. This is why it's essential to distance yourself from negative influences and to intentionally seek out spaces and people that lift you up, encourage you, and protect your peace. Remember, your energy is sacred. It is a resource that must be used wisely, or it will quickly deplete. Protecting your energy means being conscious of what and who you allow to take from you. It means taking the time to rest, recharge, and reconnect with your inner self. It means learning to say no without guilt, recognizing that your peace is not up for negotiation, and refusing to tolerate anything or anyone that threatens your mental, emotional, or spiritual well-being. Another aspect of protecting your energy is practicing emotional detachment. This doesn't mean you stop caring for others or become cold-hearted. It means you stop taking on other people's emotions as if they are your own. You can empathize with someone without carrying their burden. You can offer support without becoming emotionally entangled in their struggles. Walking away is often seen as an act of weakness or surrender, but in reality, it is one of the most powerful and courageous decisions you can make. It is not defeated as a conscious choice to reclaim your peace, protect your worth, and redirect your energy towards something better. Too often, we are conditioned to believe that persistence is synonymous with success, that we must fight for relationships, jobs, or situations, even when they no longer serve us. But there comes a point in every person's life when walking away is not just an option, it is the only way forward. We've all been there. We've stayed in situations too long, given more than we should have, and invested time and energy in people or circumstances that didn't appreciate it. We've been afraid of what walking away might look like, of how we might be perceived, of the uncertainty that comes with change. But let me tell you, walking away is not about giving up. It is about knowing when enough is enough and having the strength to make the hard choice to let go. Walking away is an act of self-respect. You have to understand your worth and acknowledge that you deserve to be in spaces where you are valued, appreciated, and treated with respect. If a job, a relationship, or a friendship does not honor you, walking away is not an admission of failure, it is a declaration of your standards. You are saying that you will no longer tolerate disrespect, mistreatment, or neglect. This is not about being perfect. It's about recognizing that you deserve better. When you choose to walk away from situations that diminish your spirit, you are affirming that you are worthy of peace, joy, and fulfillment. You are not defeated. You are taking control of your life and choosing what aligns with your values. It's important to recognize that sometimes walking away is the most loving thing you can do, not just for yourself, but for others as well. Sometimes staying in a situation that no longer serves you only prolongs the pain and prevents growth. By walking away, you make space for healing. You create room for something new to enter your life, something that is more aligned with your true self and your goals. It's not easy to walk away, especially when you've invested so much time and effort. But if you continue to stay in an unhealthy situation, you are not only hurting yourself, you may also be preventing the other person or situation from evolving. Walking away gives both parties the opportunity to grow, to learn, and to move toward better circumstances. Walking away is also about recognizing when a chapter has ended and allowing yourself to move on to the next one. Life is made up of seasons, and not all seasons are meant to last forever. Sometimes a relationship, a job, or a dream may have served its purpose, but its time has passed. Staying attached to something that is no longer in alignment with your purpose can prevent you from stepping into the fullness of your destiny. Walking away is an acknowledgement that you are evolving and that your next chapter holds greater things than what you are leaving behind. It's about being brave enough to let go of the familiar in order to embrace the unknown and trusting that what lies ahead is better than what you're walking away from. It's also important to understand that walking away doesn't mean you're abandoning your values. It doesn't mean you're quitting or taking the easy way out. It means you're choosing to prioritize your peace and well-being over staying in a situation that compromises your integrity. Walking away requires strength because it takes courage to admit when something is no longer right for you. It's not about avoiding conflict or discomfort. It's about recognizing that you don't have to tolerate something just because you're afraid of change. Walking away is about making a decision based on your worth, your needs, and your future. There's an immense amount of power in knowing when to walk away. It's about trusting your instincts and being willing to release what is no longer serving you. Walking away is not a sign of defeat, it is a sign of wisdom. It's a recognition that you are not willing to settle for less than what you deserve. And while it may feel painful in the moment, walking away opens up the possibility for something better. You cannot move forward if you're still holding on to the past. Sometimes to move into the future that God has for you, you have to let go of what is holding you back. In relationships, it's easy to feel like walking away means giving up on the person or situation. But walking away does not diminish your love for them. It simply means that you're choosing to love yourself first. It's not about cutting people out of your life out of anger or bitterness. It's about acknowledging that certain relationships are not healthy or productive for you. There's a powerful truth that many people fail to realize. Your absence can be just as impactful as your presence, if not more. In a world where we are constantly told to show up, fight for our place, and assert ourselves, it can feel counterintuitive to step back, withdraw, or leave situations behind. But sometimes your absence doesn't represent a loss. It represents the necessary space for something better to enter your life. It's not about abandoning people or situations. It's about making room for what truly serves you, what truly deserves you, and what will take you to the next level in life. When we talk about making room for better, it's not just about physical space. It's about emotional, mental, and spiritual space too. You see, when you continue to invest time and energy into relationships, jobs, or situations that aren't fulfilling or are even draining you, you're taking up space that could otherwise be occupied by something greater. The energy you're giving out may be keeping you tethered to something that's no longer aligned with your purpose. And in doing so, you might be blocking the very things that could elevate your life. Your absence in these cases becomes an act of liberation. It allows new opportunities, fresh relationships, and new blessings to flow into your life. Let's be clear, this doesn't mean you should walk away from every challenge or every person who doesn't appreciate you. It means you need to discern when your presence is no longer valued, when your energy is being taken for granted, or when you are in a situation that no longer aligns with your growth. Walking away or stepping back isn't an admission of failure. It's a declaration that you know your worth. You are saying that you will not settle for being in environments that deplete you or with people who take advantage of your kindness. Your absence in these moments forces a reset, giving you the opportunity to reassess your priorities and make space for the new, the exciting, and the life-changing. Think about this for a moment. How many times have you stayed in a situation out of obligation, fear, or guilt? How many times have you kept giving your time, your effort, and your emotional energy to someone or something that was draining you simply because you feared what would happen if you stepped away? But what if I told you that your absence is the very thing that opens the door for something better to enter? When you walk away from something that no longer serves you, you clear the path for what is meant for you to show up. You create room for new people who value you, for new opportunities that align with your passions, and for new experiences that challenge you in ways that make you grow. Sometimes we don't realize how much space we are taking up with our presence in situations that don't value us. You could be spending time with people who don't appreciate you, in jobs that drain your energy, or in relationships that hold you back. By continuing to show up in these spaces, you are blocking your own blessings. You are holding on to what's comfortable because it feels safer than the unknown. But in doing so, you might be ignoring the potential for something better to come into your life. When you walk away, you free yourself from that cycle. You stop forcing yourself to fit into spaces that aren't meant for you, and you make room for new possibilities to emerge. Your absence is also a form of self-respect. When you step back, you are choosing to prioritize your well-being and your future. You are telling yourself that you deserve more than what you're currently settling for. You're saying, I'm worth more than the scraps I've been getting. And when you make that declaration, you give the universe permission to send better things your way. You are no longer willing to accept less than what you deserve. And as a result, you create the space for something more fulfilling to take its place. In relationships, your absence can be a powerful statement. Many times, we try to convince people of our worth, we try to earn their love, and we try to force connections that feel one-sided. But if someone does not value your presence, your absence will make them realize what they've lost. You can't force someone to see your worth, but by stepping back, you give them the opportunity to reflect on it. And sometimes, when you're no longer available to constantly pour into others, they will finally recognize your value. If they don't, that's okay too. Your absence is giving you the space to heal, to refocus, and to move toward the relationships that will honor and appreciate you for who you are. Your absence also allows for clarity. When you remove yourself from situations or environments that are filled with noise, confusion, or negativity, you create space for clarity and focus. You can finally hear your own voice, your own intuition, and your own desires without the distractions of external pressures. In this clarity, you come